Welcome, everyone. This is Xavier Porter, Shoot the Fire podcast with myself, the host, and Pat DeMoss, co-host.
Hello.
And we are excited to have Mr. Ray, or I should say Sugar Ray Sefo, on the line today to discuss the great work that PFL is doing, Professional Fight Leagues. Ray, how you feeling?
I'm great. I'm good, thank you. Appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
All right. Now, Ray, there's a lot going on with PFL, man. You guys are doing a lot of phenomenal things over there within the world of mixed martial arts and Professional Fighters League. Can you share what's taking place right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, with the regular season that's now done, and next week is the kickoff of the playoffs for the featherweights and the heavyweights, and that's in New Orleans, October 5th. And then the following week, October 13th, we're in Long Island for the light heavyweights and the lightweights. And then October 13th, we're in D.C., Washington, D.C., for the middleweights and the welterweights.
How excited are you for everything that's been taking place thus far within the realm of,
Right. I'm super excited. For us, obviously this was the vision 6-7 years ago, and for it to be finally put to work, and then everybody turning up from our whole team to all our fighters, and really put on an amazing show. I'm super excited about it. I'm so excited for the fighters as well. I mean, especially the fighters, because they've come out, and especially because the way the format is set out and structured, that they have to earn high points to get into the playoffs. And obviously, with the higher seedings, the higher points will be also the higher seedings in terms of how they're sitting in the actual playoffs, where they would fight 2 fights in one night. And just super excited. Can't wait for it. Looking forward to seeing the featherweights and the heavyweights go to action. And then, of course, every other weekend after that, we'll see the rest of the fighters put it on the line to see who makes it to the championship and who wins $1 million.
Hey, Ray, this is Patrick here.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, I'm kind of curious, you were the founder of WSOF, correct?
Correct.
Did any of that ideology transfer over to the PFL from your days at the WSOF?
Yeah, I mean, some of it did, and some of it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talented fighters that were in the WSOF that went on to have great careers. And I asked Mr. Silva about this as well. In terms of competition with the UFC and Bellator, how do you view that competition in your eyes, looking at a marketing standpoint?
I don't listen. From the day I started World Series, WSOF, and I stand by it to this day with PFL. We're not in competition with the UFC or Bellator. We're in the competition with ourselves, because, again, when we continue to challenge ourselves, we're going to continue to grow and continue to do the right things. If we think about something else, then we're going to pay more attention to someone else's situations rather than ours. And the same thing. Dana White and I were at a showing here of it was a movie premiere, and one of his friends was one of the lead actors, and one of my friends was also one of the lead actors. And so, we were just talking about how, and I told Dana the same thing. We're in competition with ourselves. And, from the start also, I've had this question saying, well, you guys are now in competition with the UFC, but that's not the case, because at the end of the day, you can't compete with, that's like saying, I just stepped on the mat as a white belt, and I'm going to compete against a black belt, right? So it's absolutely ludicrous to even think like that. If you put it in those analogies, or a world champion kickboxer versus a kickboxer that just had his first fight. So again, that's not the way I look at it. I've always looked at this whole thing of us challenging ourselves as we move forward, because that's the only way we're going to continue to grow.
I'm happy to agree with that as well, especially since your platform is completely unique compared to the UFC and Bellator. If you did compare them, right, you guys have a completely different model in terms of how you set up your fighters. Now, you do the matchmaking, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Yes. How have you found that role for, setting up such a playoff type of situation? Do you have to take that into account, or is it just, just back like if you're in the WSOF, or do you take it in different considerations since there is a playoff tournament?
No, I think the way I look at it and the way I match it is just the way the way the fighters fall into, into who's fighting, who's improving, who fought the. Obviously the first fight you don't really know who really is there, but right after that first fight you kind of know who's who, and who would continue to advance and who wouldn't. And so you just match guys in the regular season. So they're going to end up fighting everybody anyway, fighting each other anyhow. So, and again, this is also, from my own experiences in fighting in tournaments and K1 and whatnot, you really don't know who's going to come through, especially with the fighting 2 fights in one night. And so, in terms of the actual playoffs, the way the guys are seeded is the way they've actually earned their points, or the points that they've earned puts them in those seedings for the playoffs. But I try and match the fighters so that it's exciting and it's good for all the fighters.
Yeah, and I'm curious, for next season, is the plan still to do NBC and Facebook as your primary source of beating out the fights?
Right now, that is the plan. Yes.
Okay. X, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. I would like to know exactly Ray's thoughts on everything that's taking place right now with the promotion and the fights that are taking place, because you are right there. You are dead set. You are dead center right there when the fighters lose, when they win. What are your thoughts on everything that's taking place when fighters fight and the results of everything that takes place after?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm not really sure.
My question is, when the fighters fight, what are your thoughts on the aftermath, the results?
I mean, obviously the fighters have come out and majority of them have actually come out and finished fights and put it all on the line. And so, I'm happy about that because they're actually giving the fans what they want to see is guys come out and put it all on the line and fight. Now, there has been some crazy decisions in terms of, and I'll use one, for example, in Long Island where
yes,
there was a light heavyweight fight where the two guys, they both were at that point where they both needed whoever won that would, advance or would at least get into the playoffs, either into the playoffs top 8 guys or as a number 1 alternate. These guys came out and they put on 2 good rounds, and then the doctor ended up stopping the fight because he talked to one of the fighters and he didn't feel like the fighter was coherent enough to continue, which was absolutely a bad call, because as soon as the doctor did that, the fighter that he had stopped the fight at 4 ran over to my corner, ran over to where I was sitting, and is going, "Ray, please don't let him do this. Don't let." I mean, that's not a fighter that's not conscience is not, and is not coherent on what's going on. You know what I mean? And so for me, like when certain decisions like that are made, and it's a bad decision, then it upsets me because I know what it's like to put it all on the line. I know what it's like to, make sure that fight goes to the final battle so that the decision can be at least given and made fair rather than being stopped and not given that last opportunity for the last round to continue. Because when I was talking to the doctor, he said he wasn't coherent, and I'm like, well, you can't say that because the fighter ran over to me right away, crying and saying, Ray, please don't let him do this. That's not a sign of a fighter that's not coherent. And on top of that, if you're going to do that for one fighter, because they were both tired, they showed that they were both tired. They both threw a lot of leather, and they both put it all on the line. So then check both fighters, not just one guy, because the other guy was just as tired. And talk to them and see, and it was a bad call, put it that way. Now, to answer your question, that really upset me because I know what it's like to be there. I know what it's like to be right there and then get it taken away from you.
What are your thoughts on everything that's taken place previously until now with the playoffs, upcoming, with the fighters who, like you just, discussed? There's a lot of fighters who are ranked number one, and then there's fighters ranked number 8. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the reason why they're in those rankings is because of the points that they've earned throughout the regular season. Take Francis, who's a heavyweight, for example. He came out and finished both fights. One he submitted, he stopped the guy, and the other one he submitted the guy. So he walked out of there with 6 points, 2 fights. That's 12 points in 2 fights. So it seats on the number 1 seat. The guy that's ranked number 8 was Josh Copeland, who lost his first fight and won his second fight by decision. So how do I feel about it? It's fair because the reasons why they're in 1 and 8 is because of how they've won and lost their regular season fights.
Yes, and Mr. Silver mentioned earlier in the show when he was on that I think the percentage for finish was around 70%, which is an insane number. Can we expect the same exact type of layout for the next season, or are there any changes you have in mind to modify?
No. The layout would be exactly the same. The only change that we would do, which would be 2020, would be 16 fighters instead of 12.
Okay. Yes, he did mention the women's division as well. You guys recently announced early in the week that would be added.
Right.
Is there any plans to add more male divisions as well next season, or is that just somewhere in the future?
I think that's right now we're adding the 155 female division for 2019, and the team and I are still in discussions in terms of the 135 division, but I mean that might be added in 2020.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you exactly. What weight class are you adding for women?
135.
135. Okay.
Bantamweight division.
Okay. Chris Cyborg, I was going to ask. Chris Cyborg from the UFC has been very adamant that she's not pleased with how frequent she's been fighting. Has there been any outreach to get a popular women's fighter? I know you already have Harrison as well, but another big name like that to come over to the PFL, or can you talk about any of that or no?
No, I mean, obviously, there hasn't been. I haven't reached out, and they haven't reached out. I just heard recently, matter of fact, yesterday, that she might be fighting her last fight. I'm not sure if that's, again, this is secondhand information. So if that's the case and she does become a free agent, I would love to have her.
Okay. Great. And how important do you think your role as a matchmaker is with the PFL?
It's a very important role. Matter of fact, we can have all the other stuff done, but unless we get, because I'm the one that signs fighters contracts, matchmakes, and all that kind of stuff. So it's important that we find the right fighters, and it's important that we match the right fights so that the show can continue, and so that people are tuning in to watch. And so far, the matchups and the fights have been incredibly great in terms of the way the guys have come out and put it all on the line. So I think it's a very important role, but it's also a stressful one.
Yeah, and I think that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Ray this question because, I respect Ray so much, and I, analyzing and assessing and respecting everything that he's given to the sport and where he's at right now. You are that guy. You are that man that, makes sure things happen. And you are the person that who was in a position as a fighter, and now you're on the other side. So my question to you is, how do you formulate the mindset to say, okay, let me make sure I match up the fighters that need to be fought, or match up the fights that need to happen the way it needs to be, the way the fights need to happen?
For me, anytime that Dana's done an amazing job of what he does and continues to do an amazing job. Nothing but a lot of respect for that guy. He's, like I said, he's done an amazing job. For me, I love what I do every day, and so when I look at fighters and I look what fights should happen, I study them very well, and but just like how I sign these fighters, I get hundreds and hundreds of emails every other week. Fighters wanting me to sign them, but with PFL, I have to be very selective because any fighter in the top 12 fighters, they're all going to be 10-plus total fights, or some guys are 15, some guys are 30. If you look at Jake Shields, he's been around for a while and he's had about 50-something fights. And so when I sign fighters for the PFL, they have to be in that level of experience and level of competition so that they, not only that the commission will allow them to fight each other, but also knowing that these guys all will come out and put it on the line and understanding their skills. And, of course, I got to watch a lot of videos as well just to see what kind of fighter they are and what they bring to the table.
Yeah, that's something actually we next discussed before the podcast started. We were talking, you guys really can't bring in anyone that's 0-0 or 2-0 or whatever because you need experienced fighters. This is a tournament.
That's
do you find it do you find it difficult to filter out these guys more so than, like, let's say the WSOF back in the day?
Well, see, the thing is, a lot of these guys, I get a lot, like I said, I get a lot of these emails, and there is a lot of talent that comes through, but some of them are not experienced enough. And so, of course, I tell them that go get some more fights and reach back out because, this is a chain that's continued to move forward. And so I also get a lot of emails and fighters that are experienced, but some of these fighters that have a lot of experience also have padded records. And so I got to go through who they fought, go through how many fights, So, yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it in terms of finding the right guys, because there are guys out there that have 15-2 record, and then or 15-3, and then I look at their record. They're fighting guys that 0-5 or 2-10. You know what I mean? So I got to make sure that I pick the right guys.
Yeah, we've spoken to several fighters. I'm sorry, Pat. Give me 1 second. We've spoken to several fighters that are within PFL, namely Kelvin, as well as Kevin Tiller, as well as Rakeem Cleveland, and so my question to you, not excluding these other fighters, what are your thoughts on the various weight classes and what's going to take place afterwards, after December 31st?
I understand the second part of your question. What's going to happen afterwards? I mean, whoever wins $1 million is going to celebrate. But probably.
I'm not asking you exactly what's going to take place with these fighters in their fights. I'm just saying, because you guys have presented something so different. So, it's amazing. PFL, yourself, Carlos, you have presented something very different within the form of mixed martial arts that, fighters, and you yourself, you have fought fighters 2 times a night. And it's a whole other atmosphere that fight fans right now, in this generation right now, are new to what's going on. You've done this. You've experienced this. You've lived this. This is your life. And now you're on the executive level. So now you're bringing the forefront of what mixed martial arts should be to a whole nother level for the fighters' lives. So my question to you is, how do we expand the brand to where it is right now, to the forefront, to where it needs to be?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And so, of course, for us, I mean, listen, that's what it's called, fighting. And guys,
yes.
People tune in not because of how, what my suit looks like or what Carlos' suit looks like. People tune in because they want to see these guys come out and put it all on the line. They want to see these gladiators come out and show the world who they are and what they're made of. It's funny you mentioned Calvin Tiller. This is a guy that used to fight at 85 and obviously made the transition to be a heavyweight. And what a heavyweight debut for him when he knocked out one of the biggest guys in PFL in the first round. And then he comes out in his second regular season fight and he submits one of the biggest, one of the top level names in mixed martial arts in Jared Rocha. So, this is a guy that's unknown, and yet the format and PFL has given him this platform where we're seeing the guy's talent. We're seeing the best of Calvin Tiller. So it's amazing what, when these fighters look at, man, I can be a millionaire by the end of the season. And, this kind of money, this Calvin Tiller never thought it would be possible. But now it's right at his fingertips. And, again, if $1 million can't motivate you, nothing will. You know what I mean? And he's a guy with family, and I'm sure he wins that $1 million, he's going to put all his kids into college.
That's huge. That's amazing. Yeah, Pat.
I was just going to say, I mean, the $1 million cash prize again is just, I mean, I'm not being biased just because you're on the show at all, but I have to say the PFL, I think, is quickly becoming one of the most entertaining promotions in MMA just because of what's on the line. I mean, no other promotion has really done. $1 million cash prize, like you said, can change someone's life, can put all of their kids through college. And it really motivates them, right? It motivates them to go out there and get a finish on top of already needing the win to get points to continue fighting. To me, it's a brilliant offer.
Yeah, no, exactly. And remember, these guys are earning money. They're earning showing wins throughout the regular season. So they're really making over $1 million by the end of the year.
Okay. So is it a sense that they're earning, or is it a sense that they're earning a spot to fight for that.
Well, what I mean is like whoever the winner is, whoever comes out on top becomes a champion and has made over $1 million. The second runner-up will go home with $200,000. So, including what he's made throughout the regular season. So obviously these kind of money is life-changing for a lot of these guys. And normally, a lot of these fighters wouldn't think it'd be possible to make that kind of money, but in PFL, it's very possible.
Once a person, or the victor, wins this tournament, whichever division, lightweight, welterweight, heavyweight, they have to, do they have to defend their title, or, how does that work within the next season?
So the way that works is that once that whoever wins he will then have a few months off as the 2019 season starts in May. He will then go back into the bracket. He will always be known as the 2018 world champion, and then he'll start again, regular season, playoffs, and championship, and see if he can try and repeat that.
Yeah.
Just like it is in the NFL, just like it is in the NBA, just like it is in baseball, and so on.
Are you surprised that it took this long for a large maybe promotion to come up with such a, not kind of like simple idea, but to really mimic a sport? Are you kind of surprised that, again, like that model really was never thought of?
The thing is, when we first announced that this is what we were doing, a lot of people actually discredited it because they said it's been done before, and they said the UFC did it and ISL did it. But the problem, the difference is, with back then, if you look at UFC back then, before Dana White and the Pachitas bought the UFC and put rules in it, there was no rules in the UFC back in the day. Everything goes, and so that's why it didn't work, and that's what some of these people that discredited what we were announcing is because they didn't really, stop to think or to look at what was then and what's now. You know what I mean? And so, of course, now at this time and age, there's no way the old UFC would be allowed, let alone even Pride. Like Pride rules, you're allowed to kick a guy on the ground, you're allowed to stomp him in the head. That would never stand in society today. And so that's why it didn't work. And then if you look at IFL, there were teams. Boxing, kickboxing, MMA, when that bell rings, there's only two fighters in there. The guy yourself and the guy opposite you. You might have a team, but it's not a team sport. It's a one-on-one sport. You know what I mean? It's an individual sport. You have a team that, helps you train and supports you. But when that bell rings, it's just you and the guy across the ring or the cage. So that's why, there was a confusion. And also, this is the same realm of format that I came up with through K1 days, and that's how the idea came about. And we just modified it so that it suits the American way of sports. If anybody that knows the American way of sports, there's a regular season, there's a playoff, and there's a championship. And that's what PFL is. It's a league.
Ray, can you Ray? I gotta keep it 100. I gotta keep it a buck. Can you speak on the amount of ass that you kicked? I need it, Ray. Come on. I need to understand. Well, I already know, but I need for the listeners out there to understand that you are that guy. You are the man. Like,
thank you. I appreciate that. And I've been very fortunate. And, and I thank the good Lord every day that I do what I love and passionate about, and I wake up every day and do exactly that. And so, but I had an amazing career, no complaints. There's a lot of things that was great, and there were some things that weren't so great. But that's what makes you as a person. That's what allows you to grow. And but yeah, I had 109 pro fights, and three amateurs. But I had an amazing career with 54 stoppage. I've lost, I think 12 legitimately lost fights, and I think I have another probably 6 fights that were, 100% questionable, but it is what it is. But no, I've had a very I've had a great career, and I thank the good Lord every day that I was able to do what I do, and the fact that I was able to compete not only in boxing, in kickboxing, but also MMA.
Now we've also had like X mentioned earlier, we've had a handful of PFL fighters on, and a repeating question I wanted to ask them was, because a lot of them do come from the UFC or Bellator or any other promotion. I wanted to ask them how the relationship changed between their PFL and, let's say, the UFC, for example. A lot of them, especially like Chris Wade, mentioned how it was drastic, how he was treated with the PFL was, terrific, and, not so much with the UFC. Do you attribute your personal experience as being a fighter to being able to relate to these guys that much and give them respect and whatever they deserve?
Oh, 100%. Like I tell my team, I'm always going to be, I'm always going to do the right thing by the fighter, and the whole team understands that, and they agree with it, that PFL is fighter first, and we will always do the right thing by the fighters. As long as it's fair for the fighters and fair for the company, we're going to make sure that every fighter is looked after. And I've been there, done that. I know what it's like to be hurt and, continue to train. I know what it's like to be so tired and don't want to get up, and you peel yourself off the bed and put your shoes on and grab your bag and come in your car and you're headed to training. So I know, I've been there. I've been through every circumstance or anything that a fighter's been through. I've been there, done that 10 times over.
Now,
again, go ahead, X.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say, he's kicked a lot of ass. Let's be real. I mean, come on. Ray, you done kicked a lot of ass. You done beat up a lot of people, and I respect you. I applaud you, and I thank you for coming on, as well as myself, Pat, as well as Matt. We appreciate you coming on to the podcast. And what do you want for this brand? What do you want to? What is the ultimate goal outside of I know you want other fighters to put their foot in other people's asses, but what do you want for this brand?
I want this brand to be one of the best companies in the world of mixed martial arts, because when we become one of the best, we're going to be able to provide all the fighters opportunities. We'll be able to pay them what they deserve, and we're going to continue to do what we can to make it one of the best companies in the world. I think we're headed in that way. Some of our partners says, matter of fact, Don Davis, who is an amazing man and a partner, but he says, Ray, this was your vision, and you started all this, and we're going to turn this company into a multi-billion-dollar company. I said, you know what? What I do know how to do is put on fights. I don't know how to make $1 billion, but they do. I said, you do, Don. And so it's a great combination of, of the team working together. So I just love it when, the whole team is in sync in with each other, but the vision and the goal is exactly the same. So, and I feel that with our team every day, and every time we're at an event, everybody, you can see that everybody's amping it and just psyched and happy and excited for the show to start. And so when you have that kind of combination of a team, up is the only way to go.
Yeah, we applaud you. I'm sorry, Pat. We applaud you. We support you. We are here. We appreciate everything that's taking place within PFL. We want to be a part of it as much as possible. I know myself as well as Pat. Pat, you can speak up, Pat. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, I just want to say that, we're really supportive of the PFL. We've been covering it ever since the season started. The fighters are great. You all are great. And thanks again for expanding the fastest growing sport in the world.